It's time for another volunteer spotlight, and today we are interviewing Pat Gilmore. How are you today?
I'm great.
Tell me where you're from.
Little town, a megatropolis called Elizabeth, Illinois. Population 750, including dogs and cats. Well, I come from a military family. My mother was a Army nurse. My father was a tank driver. So I became an airplane driver. I went to the University of Illinois and enlisted in the Air Force in 1970 and retired from the Air Force Reserve in 1991.
What made you want to join the Air Force?
Being an Army family, I knew I didn't want to go in the Army. So I always had a fascination with airplanes. When I was a kid, there were shows on TV, Air Power and Steve Canyon. I just loved airplanes. So I enlisted with the idea of becoming a pilot, and by golly, that's what happened.
And what did you fly?
I flew C-141s my entire career. Every student pilot wants to be a fighter pilot. And as we progressed in our program, reality kind of hit, and you start looking at who were the guests in the Hanoi Hilton at the time. They were fighter pilots.
Yeah.
And the transport looked very appealing to me.
What was your favorite thing about being in the Air Force?
Friends I made. It was just a family.
So what made you start volunteering at the museum?
I generally had Fridays off when I was flying for the airlines, and every time I'd walk in on a Friday, they'd say, "Oh, you're back." I said, "I spend so much time here, I really ought to work here." Well, Carol threw an application at me for a volunteer. I filled it out, and the next week I was sitting in the gallery there with a cap on. That was, I think, June of 1997. I've been here ever since.
What is your favorite thing about volunteering here?
Meeting people. For instance, 2 weeks ago, there was a gentleman in here, and I was talking to somebody else, and he just stood there and waited, didn't say a word. He appeared to be in his late 70s, early 80s, I'd say. Didn't say a word, and then when the guy I was talking to moved on, he came up and he said, "Where's your PBY, your Catalina?" I said, "That's a Navy airplane. This is an Air Force museum." He says, "Well, I flew PBYs in World War II. I said, "You did? You're not old enough for that." He said, "I'm 97. I'll be 98 in 2 weeks."
And what are some things that you enjoy doing in your spare time when you're not volunteering?
My present wife says, "Why hire somebody if you can do it yourself?" So she has me out doing yard work. I hate yard work. But I do like model airplanes. I've been building model airplanes ever since I was 8 years old. It's my catharsis. And I also do a lot of, I got into genealogy because I really didn't know my father's family that well.
Well, I wanted to thank you for all that you do for us at the museum as a volunteer, because we can't do anything without you here. We can't run this place without you guys. So thank you for all that you do.
That's become a part of my life. It's like my wife says, you need to go. If I tell her, I don't feel like going to the museum today, she says, you need to go. Please go. So I really like it here. Thanks a lot.